Welcome to the another video of pulsating biology for the chapter classification of Olevels. Well, we have covered most of the topics in the previous video, but let's come on to the another topics. Let's give it a review on the syllabus. First, we have covered 3 pointers of 2.1. The fourth one was left due to the short of time. It says construct and use of dichotomous keys based on the identifiable features. So we will be discussing about the dichotomous keys. In 2.2, we have almost 6 pointers. That's number 1 pointer says state the 5 features used to place all organism into 5 kingdoms. So we have to discuss about 5 kingdom and its classification. There is animal, plant, fungus, prokaryote, and protoctist. This next one says state main features used to place organism into groups with the animal kingdom limited to the main groups of vertebrates, mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibian fishes. The other one says the main group of arthropods, myriapods, insects, arachnids, and crustaceans. So we have to discuss the mammals and also the insect group. The third one says state the main features used to place organism into groups within the plant kingdom. The fourth one is the classification of organism on the basis of their features. And then we have to talk about virus, and the last pointer asks us to understand that virus are only replicate in living cells. We will try to cover as many pointers as we can in the video. Well, the first topic that we have in the classification video number 2 is the dichotomous keys that we have left in 2.1. So let's discuss about the dichotomous keys and learn that what is actually meant by dichotomous keys and what are the step-by-step functions of it. Well, in the dichotomous keys, there are basically 2 branches. Let me first write the pointers and then explain you how this basically work and what this tells us. It has 2 branches. Then what you need to do is that you have to follow the key. Then you have to make suitable choices. And then the last one says that the first question splits group into subheading. Splits group into 2 subheadings. Let's discuss about the dichotomous key. In it, you have to realize that there has to be the 2 branches. Basically, there has to be the 2 branches. Once you have decided which branch you have to go for, and then you follow the key. Once you have followed the key and made the 2 branches, you make suitable choices and then come on to the first question. That is the first pointer that makes up the 2 branches. Then you follow either this key or this key. Make suitable choices. Once you have choose, let's say this option, then it splits into further 2 subgroup headings. So this is how a dichotomous key works. We will be covering some of the examples. Let's talk about a vertebrate example first. Oh, well, in this dichotomous key example, the term vertebrate is basically the dichotomous where it all begins from. Once this dichotomous key begins from the vertebrates, it is divided into a fur and non-fur animals. When it comes to a fur animal, it means that it is a mammal. If it is a non-fur animal, it is further divided into 2 subheadings. Like we have heard that once you have studied about the dichotomous key, it makes up the 2 branches. And then you have to follow a single key. Once a single key you have made the suitable choices, then it is further divided into 2 subheadings. So if you have choose the no fur heading, it is furtherly divided into feathers and no feathers. So the animals that consist of feathers are basically the birds. The example is the birds, and the one with no feathers, again making a suitable choices. Let's make it as a no feather. Then it furtherly divided into 2 of the further animals that consist of a dry skin animal and a moist skin animal. So a dry skin animal is termed as the reptile. We all know that how the scaly skin ones are called as the reptile, while the next suitable choice we make is the moist skin. The moist skin animals are further divided, either they have scales or they don't have scales. So the ones that have scales are fishes, examples are fishes, and the ones that don't have scales are termed as amphibians. So here we have covered most of our 5 kingdoms classifications and the mammals also, that is the fish. We have discussed about amphibians, we have discussed about reptiles, we have discussed about birds, we have discussed about also the mammals. So this is what we meant by the dichotomous key. Let me give you a review that this is the dichotomous. The dichotomous is basically has 2 branches. Once you have made the suitable choices and followed the key, it has further two more branches, and then further two more branches, and then again the further two more branches, unless you stop making the suitable choice. So this is what dichotomous key looks like. Here we have covered the 2.1 topic that we left in the last video. Here our 2.1 comes to an end. Let's discuss what we have been asked in the 2.2. So in 2.2, the first thing that we've been asked for is to discuss about the five kingdom classification. Well, we all know that there are total five of kingdoms. Number one is the animal kingdom, that is the most basic kingdom. We will discuss its further classifications later in the video. And the second classification we have is the plant, obviously. The third one is the fungi. The fourth we have is the prokaryote. The fifth one we have is the protoctist. These are the five kingdom classifications that we have. Number one is the plant, then we have animal, then we have fungi, then we have prokaryote, and then we have protoctist. Let's discuss about in a bit detail. All the animals that are in the term of the five kingdom classification are multicellular. Alright, the plants are also multicellular. The fungi are multi, but some are also unicellular. In unicellular, we have, let's say, the example of yeast. Yeast is a fungi that is basically a unicellular, but most of the fungi are multicellular. In prokaryotes and protoctists, both of them have the organisms that are unicellular. By unicellular, it means that they have only one cell and not many. So this is the classifications and the further on the basis of which the kingdoms are basically classified. The protoctists are also known as the protozoa, and by protozoa we mean that they are also termed as protozoa, and by that we mean that let's say an example of Plasmodium. Plasmodium is a very common example that we most of us heard for. That is the cause for a very common disease, that is the malaria. So, and we'll also a little bit how bacteria are classified, because these are termed as prokaryote are classified. These are termed as bacteria, and protoctists are known as the protozoa. So, on the basis of these classification, the all of them have the unicellular or the multicellular characteristic. Let's discuss the characteristic of plants. Well, the plants. First thing that we need to know that the plants are eukaryotic in nature. And by eukaryotic, it means that they are capable of making their own food. It does not depend upon any other organism or parasitic activity for their production of their food or the formation of their food. So they are eukaryote and they are autotroph. Autotroph basically terms at what I have told you about food also, that they are capable of making their own food. We have already discussed that plants are multicellular in nature. Although they have like chloroplast that is basically responsible for their food production. What it does is that it consumes the light energy from the sun and it converts it into the chemical energy, and that in turn is as the food. So it has the chloroplast, they are multicellular, they are autotrophic, and they are eukaryotic. These are the major examples. These are the major pointers that you need to need. We will also be covering some of the examples in the kingdom of plants. The examples include, let's say, rose bush. You don't need to learn many examples when it comes to Olevels. And the other one we have, let's say, is the mango tree. These are very common examples that you need to learn. Let's next we have discuss for the discussion we have is the fungi. The other group in the five kingdom classification is the fungus or the fungi. So we have already discussed that they are also multicellular in nature. Here are some pointers that you need to keep in your mind in order to solve some MCQ based question, that they are multicellular. They are non-chloroplast, that means it does not contain chloroplast. And the one thing that you need to learn about fungus is, or the fungi, is that they can be unicellular, but most of them are multicellular, as I have given you the example in the last sheet. That is the example we have is the yeast. That yeast is a unicellular and it is a fungi. Alright, so fungi are also responsible for the release of enzymes. They basically release enzymes that are used in all the extracellular activities. Let's say an extracellular digestion mainly. So it is used in the extracellular digestion Also, the fungi are from those group that contains their proper nucleus. Since they are eukaryotic in nature, they consist of a proper nucleus, and also that they are eukaryotic in nature. The cell wall that majorly fungi consist of is made up, oh, so I'm so sorry, cell wall which is made up of is chitin. This is a very commonly asked MCQ, that what is the cell wall of fungi is made up of. So it is made up of chitin, and it is not made up of cellulose or any other common substance that we often learn that organisms are made of. So the all the fungi cell wall is made up of chitin. The next for the discussion we have is the protoctis. Let's discuss about protoctis, that how the protoctis are unicellular in nature. So we have already learned that they does not have the quality of being multicellular. They are unicellular in nature. Some of them do have cell wall, and some of them does not contain cell wall. So it may be depending upon what kind of organism and what kind of species it is, and where it does live and its habitat. That either it has a cell wall, it does not have a cell wall. But eukaryotes, protoctis are always eukaryotic in nature. They are termed as eukaryotes, and that's why they have their proper nucleus. Since we have studied that either they have a cell wall or they do not have a cell wall, that means they either are autotrophs or they also have the tendency to be heterotrophs. So either they are autotrophs or they are heterotrophs. So let's talk about the example of the protoctis that is commonly used. In the examples, we have a very common example, Plasmodium, which is responsible or the causative agent for the malaria also, or you can say the chlorella. So these are the two very basic examples. Protoctis are unicellular in nature. They may have cell wall or they may do not have a cell wall. They are eukaryotic in nature. Since they are eukaryotic in nature, that means they have a proper nucleus. Now we have also need to know that either they are heterotroph or they are autotroph. They can make their own food, but they can also be act as being independent. So, and examples are very common. It consists of a plasmodium and it consists of a chlorella. For the discussion is the prokaryote. Well, the prokaryote are unicellular in nature. Uh, the last two group of the five kingdom classification are unicellular. They consist of no cell wall or no nucleus. And the very important point that we need to learn about prokaryote, like we have learned it in the fungi, that the cell wall of a fungi was made up of a chitin. Similarly, the cell wall of prokaryote is made up of peptidoglycan. So the cell wall is made up of a peptidoglycan. It consists of DNA in the form of it consists of a loop of a DNA. So these are the very common characteristics that you need to learn about it. Similarly, the big prokaryote play a very important role in the extracellular digestion. In the intestine, extracellular digestion in the intestine. And a very common example of prokaryote is the E. coli. Prokaryotes are unicellular in nature, like the last two groups of the five kingdom classification. They are unicellular in nature. It does not have a nucleus, and the cell wall of the prokaryote is made up of a peptidoglycan. This is a very commonly asked MCQs. Please do have a look at this. And the DNA of a prokaryote is in the loop structure. Prokaryotes are also, since they are known as a bacteria, and when the term bacteria is used, you already know that its DNA is in a very coiled form. It also plays a very important role in the extracellular digestion in the intestine, and the example is a very common, that is the E. coli. Let's learn about the main group of the vertebrates, that is the animal kingdom, and for that we have a trick. Let me teach you a trick that says that bee farm. Bee farm. And each of the alphabet from this term would be donating something. Let's say B, F, A, R, and M. So what the B donates is the birds. What F donates is the fishes. A is for the amphibians. R is for the reptiles, whereas M is for the mammals. So these are the group of vertebrates: birds, fishes, amphibians, reptiles, and the mammals. We all human beings are in the group of mammals. We have the example of birds, fishes, amphibians, and reptiles are the one that have a scaly skin, and then fishes are the one either they have a moist skin or a dry skin. This is a trick within which you can learn the names of the vertebrates. We will be discussing each of them in detail in the upcoming video. So we have covered most of the topics of 2.2, and the rest of the topics will be covered in the next video. Please